Okay, if you're ready to go, we're going to play Articles in Action. So over the next 6 slides, we're going to look at some real examples. These are headlines and opening paragraphs of 6 articles about the Supreme Court or Supreme Court rulings. And I tried to pick things that are actually a little obscure, so you may not know what the article itself is talking about, because I want to demonstrate to you that you don't have to know, you don't have to fully understand the content of the article when you first read it to be able to tell whether or not it's opinionated or informative. So your job is to decide whether the article is informative or whether it's opinion based on the headline and the material given. I'm gonna switch to it. I'm gonna stop talking for like 10 seconds and then I'll start talking again and we'll walk through it together. But you'll probably want to pause this video, whether you're in class as an audience or whether you're just watching this on your own or just with another person from class. You're probably going to want to pause the video, read through it, and maybe talk about each one. Okay, so if you're ready to go, here's our first article. Okay. Hopefully you guys decided that this was an example of an informative or informational article, right? This one I think is fairly simple. If we look at the title, Trump meets 4 finalists for court seat, and we look at the first sentence, President Trump interviewed 4 candidates on Monday to take Justice Anthony M. Kennedy's place on the Supreme Court as the White House raced to meet the president's promise to announce a replacement for the retiring justice early next week. There is no statement of opinion in this, right? This is a verifiable statement of fact, right? It offers a discussion of the facts and the evidence. It's not trying to argue. It's not trying to interpret what's going on for you. It's simply saying, this is what happened. All right, let's take a look at example 2. Again, I'll give you a few seconds to look over it. Okay, hopefully you read through this and you realized this is an example of an opinion piece, right? It has a lot of the markers of an opinion or an editorial article, right? First off, we can see that its title is Senators, Do Your Job. That's not a statement of fact, right? There's no way to prove that true or false. That's a request or a command. Anytime you see a request or a command in a title, it's a pretty good guess that you're looking at an editorial or an opinion-based argument rather than a simple summary of facts. A couple other things to take a look at. If we just read through this first sentence, in my 36-year tenure in the United States Senate, nearly half of it as chairman or ranking Democrat on the Judiciary Committee, I presided or helped preside over 9 nominees to the Supreme Court from both Republican and Democratic presidents. Well, that's written in the first person, right? And that involves someone's personal experience, right? In fact, this is former Vice President Joe Biden writing this article. But he's talking about himself, right? He's saying I. So it's written in the first person. That's another good sign that this is probably an opinion-based piece. Jump down to this third paragraph. Let's read through this. That's why I was so surprised and saddened to see Republican leaders tell President Obama and me that they would not even consider a Supreme Court nominee this year. No meetings, no hearings, no votes, nothing. It is an unprecedented act of obstruction, and it risks a stain on the legacy of all those complicit in carrying out this plan. That's a pattern of negative language. This isn't saying she completed a remarkable journey. This says surprised, saddened, repetition of no's, right? No meeting, no hearings, no votes, nothing. It describes something as unprecedented and obstruction and says it risks a stain and that people involved in it are complicit. Complicit is a negative word. So for all these reasons, of course, right, this is an opinion piece. Ready for another example? Okay, this one's a little more challenging. Okay, so what do you think? In the past, we've started by taking a look at the headline or the title, right? And here the title is Taking on Citizens United. This isn't as easy as, say, Joe Biden's senators do your job, because this isn't a request or a command. I'm not sure that this tells us how to feel, but on the other hand, this definitely isn't a statement of fact, right? If the phrase is just taking on Citizens United, there's no way for us to prove that true or false, right? There's no verifiability because it doesn't tell us who might be taking on Citizens United. So looking at the headline, I think we have to sort of think, okay, this might be an opinion-based piece, but we need to read further. And then we read the first line. Something is very wrong with the way we fund our elections. Hopefully, by the time you read that, you said, yes, obviously this is an opinion piece, right? Because this is telling us how to feel. This is not an objective statement of funding elections, right? This is telling us something's wrong. This is cluing us in that the author thinks something's bad, thinks something's negative. So for those reasons, right, this is an opinion piece. Okay, on to example 4. Okay, hopefully you guys are feeling pretty old hat at this by now, right? We look at the title, Newest Justice Seen as Key Vote is Silent During Arguments on Unions. Hey, that's a statement of fact, right? We could prove or disprove that by looking at the official record during the arguments on unions that were held before the Supreme Court and see, did Justice Neil M. Gorsuch say anything, right? Did he ask any questions? So because this is verifiable, because this is a statement of fact, we don't even need to go any further. We know that this is an informative article. 2 more to go. Okay, example 5. 8 justices are enough. Take a little time. Okay. So what do you guys think? I think if we look at the headline here, the title, 8 justices are enough. Again, is this a statement of fact? No, this isn't a statement of fact. This is an argument, right? In fact, we could envision someone arguing the opposite, right? 8 justices are not enough. We need 9 justices on the Supreme Court. If we have an even number, we can't solve problems. And indeed, right, this is an opinion piece. We can also look down at the very last sentence of this, where after kind of giving a summary of the facts around that current moment, it suggests, the fact that there are only 8 justices at this point in time on the Supreme Court is not causing any real harm. Indeed, there is reason to think the opposite is true. So here we have one that is a little more tricky to tell that this is an opinion piece, right? Because I don't see, there's no first person language in here. This is all written in the third person. And reading through these first 3 paragraphs, we don't see a lot of positive or negative description. But we do see a strong statement of opinion in that last sentence there in the third paragraph. And we can also tell from the title, right? The title is not giving us a fact, it is making an argument. So this is an opinion-based piece. One more example. Okay, and this our last example. It's actually a lot like the previous example, right? A little challenging at first, but when we start to break it down, I think it's pretty clear we can tell that this is an opinion piece, right? Again, the title, Tough Gun Laws Are Constitutional. That is not a statement of fact. It's not verifiable. If it were verifiable, we wouldn't be arguing about the Second Amendment, right? So this is a claim, this is an argument, and we could imagine a reasonable person saying, tough gun laws are not constitutional. And just like the last one, if we go all the way down and look at the third paragraph here, there is reason to doubt the soundness of that opinion. That happens to be former Justice Antonin Scalia's opinion in District of Columbia versus Heller. But even if the decision is not reversed, we believe it poses no obstacle for much stronger gun laws. Well, here we do see a little bit of the first person, right? We believe. And we do see a strong statement of opinion, right? We believe something, right? If you believe something, that's not a statement of fact. That's already an opinion. That's an argument. That's saying what you believe. So, again, the answer for this is opinion. I'm hoping that you scored 6 out of 6 at this as a class or on your own. If not, that's okay. Go back and review those rules because it can be kind of tricky. One last thing that I wanted to say. You notice how often I had us just refer to the title or the headline in order to kind of make sense of this, in order to figure out whether this is an editorial, an opinion piece, or it's informative. It's really important that you look at these articles in the original places that they appeared. Don't go to procon.org. Don't use opposing viewpoints because they take them out of context. They get rid of the headlines. Sometimes they even get rid of the thesis sentences. And so you can't tell. Now you're just looking at a mass of information and you can't tell, was this originally an informative article? Was this originally an opinion article? Or you have to do a lot more work. It's really, really important for this class that you find articles sort of where they live, that you look at the original venues, not just because you can access the title and the headline, but also because you get a chance to really think about the audience and the community that it was written for. Okay, this has been a long lecture, so I'll stop now. Of course, as always, there's a quiz after this, and I look forward to talking to you more. Thanks.